Staff and Grab Podcast. We are back. We have lights. We have hopefully better audio that will get even better for Thursday's episode. But Rachel, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good. Yeah, I feel like every show we add another thing. Like
exactly.
We figure out, okay, like last show, what are we missing? We should probably talk about how last show almost caused me to have a stroke.
We did like soft launch the relationship of this podcast. Like, last episode was just like the Instagram story of you holding someone's hand but no faces. This one seems to be more of like silhouette couples picture. And now and then on Thursday we'll do the full
Taylor Swift,
Travis Kelce, all that. But yes, Rachel, so just a little peek behind the scenes. It took Rachel, I believe, 7 hours to edit our last episode. Unbeknownst to me, I just waltzed home, thought I was like, all right, Friday, we recorded on a Friday, so like Friday night, we're feeling right, and then I get a text from Rachel like at 9 p.m. being like, I'm still editing. Very interesting. Rachel, why don't you tell us exactly what happened there?
Yeah, so we're obviously starting new cameras and everything, so we've got new software that's helping us make like the cuts and just easier for us to kind of get it out more quickly, right? And so I got the actual editing part done, because that part was like, it was pretty easy.
Yes.
But then I tried to export the hour-long podcast video, and my computer basically said, nope, you will not be doing that in the settings that I wanted to export it as. So then I texted somebody who does this for a living, and he was like, oh yeah, my computer's $10,000. And I was like, okay, I'm not buying a $10,000 computer for this. So we figured out other settings that I could export it as, and I was exporting other videos in those settings too. I just kind of thought it would be cooler. But alas, we got the YouTube video up, and it did take me 10 hours, but it's not going to take me 10 hours now because I saved it as a preset so that I don't have a stroke anymore, and I don't eat nerd clusters for dinner.
Mm-hmm. You would hope so. All right, we also, when we talk about sort of our soft launch here, we're getting closer into the hard launch, in that we have a TikTok, we have a YouTube. We're being hip with the kids,
We got an Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, make sure you follow us. We've got Corey is all over it. Producer Connor is all over it.
He's behind the camera in a rare appearance today. So it's a lot of fun. It's great.
He's basically here to make sure that we don't mess everything up.
Absolutely.
Because we would.
And also, I'm trying to sit up straighter because I was lectured by my boss about how I looked too chill in the last episode. So we're gonna do that. Rachel, let's get started though. I think it would probably be best, for us to lead with Auston Matthews. I think we should lead there.
He was just named first star of the week.
Absolutely. I mean, look, six goals, 2 games.
Is that good?
It's very good. What I've noticed about Auston Matthews this year, as someone who's at the games, interviewing him and everything, is I think he's extra sassy.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground, in the trenches, as Ryan Reaves would say at one point.
The trenches.
I'm in the trenches, and I thank me for my service on that. But I've noticed that he's got he never didn't have his swagger, but he has more in the sense that like he's being very sassy with us.
I feel like he's being sassy with a certain member of the media.
Well, no, because even after, so obviously he had the Steve Simmons, like, I couldn't tell you, Steve, but like even after last game, I think, and Mark Masters, who is the cream of the crop, incredible, lovely human being, but he asked him something about like, what is it like on a wraparound goal like that? Is it instinct or whatever? And Matthews just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess instinct.
Yeah, like he did it very, very sassily. And I think that kind of goes to show, that sort of, demonstrates the fact that he's back, He was never, look, he had 85 points in, 73 games or something last year. Like, that's a season that we get someone like a, $8.5, $9 million contract of free agents.
Well, yeah, because over 82 games, that's 100 points.
He had 40 goals, all that. So it was he was still very productive, but, considering he'd scored 60 and won the Hart and the Rocket and all that the year before, it was a little wishy-washy. He's back now.
Yeah, I mean, he's shooting 46%, which is
completely sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to come down, so eventually there's going to be some level of cold streak or what have you, but the thing about it is you look where Auston Matthews is getting his opportunities. The side of the net goals that he's scored, I think there's 2 of them those are probably going to stop going in at some point. But the ones where he's right at the net front, picking up pucks or accepting passes and shifting his weight and really getting it in spots that the goalie is finding it difficult to get to, those are goals that are going to get scored all season. It's the ones where he's scoring at the side of the net that absolutely shouldn't be going in against university goaltenders, never mind National Hockey League goaltenders. And so I think you'll start to see those kind of dissipate, but when you look at it, when he's in the inner slot or he's getting time to release the puck, those are going to continue to go in all season. And I was talking to somebody who knows Auston really well in terms of how he trains, and this person just kind of said, it's amazing what happens when he's healthy.
We don't really we took for granted last year just how hurt he was.
Yeah.
I mean, are we allowed to reveal any of that? Probably not.
I feel like no, he shouldn't, because, privacy.
Exactly. HIPAA, if you will.
Yeah.
But let's just say that he was very, very hurt. Like, to the point where I'm surprised he was playing, at least from the information I was privy to. And he is healthy. Keefe said, he's like, look, Austin's come in, like, just more refreshed and healthy than I've seen in a very long time, that I've seen since I started coaching him. And you can tell. Like, his last year... It's tough because, again, he was still a good player last year. He was still in... Sorry, Rachel just scrolled down our prep with her foot on her computer, and it totally threw me. Like, what? You did it so casually. You just did with eye contact. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, but he was still very good. But he's doing these little things now that I've noticed. And again, this is very eye test. I'm sure we could spout out his expected goals and everything, and they're
which
great.
are all very good.
Which are all very good. Exactly. I mean,
dominating.
Even though, according to some people, he hasn't played his best games. So but his strength away from sort of an offensive standpoint is his ability to be a puck vacuum. In that, if you have the puck and you're within a little bit of a vicinity from him, I would say maybe 3-4 feet away from him, he's getting it. Whether it's along the boards, whether it's in open ice, his poke checks, his stick lifts, his board battles where he goes in and he these spin moves he uses in a board battle. He's like a Tasmanian devil. He's just he'll go in for a board.
It's like a Beyblade.
Exactly, he looks like a Beyblade. He lets it rip when he goes into the corner there. So exactly. Oh man, the amount of, I'm sure I have scars on my body from Beyblades back in the day. They were amazing.
I went to school with somebody who got suspended over Beyblades, which is a ridiculous thing to be getting suspended about. Beyblades and Yu-Gi-Oh cards when we were in school. Exactly. Wasn't even, we had Pokemon cards, but you couldn't battle.
You didn't know how to play
Yu-Gi-Oh cards though?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. And with Beyblades, it looked like, it was like the child version of a cockfight. Where you have a bunch of people huddled around and they're like, kill him!
Yeah.
And normally, in a back room with adults, that's chickens fighting each other, dogs, but instead it was just these two plastic tops in each other. Anyway, but what I've noticed with him in board battles is that a lot of players, they go into a board battle and they just slam into another player and they try and separate them from the puck like that. What Matthews does is he goes in and then he spins. Stop doing it! Keeps doing it with her foot! And she gives me a wry look every time. It's not the content that's behind a paywall, Rachel. Come on.
It's on OnlyFans.
Exactly. It's our Patreon tier. But he does this spin move where he goes in and he and so the guy can't hit him or he'll. It's hard to describe, but if you go watch it, it's remarkable. He's doing these little things that he used to do. When he was at the top of his game, when he had that Hart year, even in his Calder year, he's still a rookie, that just weren't visible last year because of the limitations of his body, because he was a broken man and a broken man with that was held together with tape, whatever.
Yeah, he's being held together with hockey tape and safety pins.
And friggin' dryer lint or whatever, and he was still scoring 40 goals. Pretty remarkable. But this is we're watching a superstar at the height of his powers. He's returned to that. The
boogeyman mode.
The disrespect, man, that in the off season, just with the preseason rankings of certain people,
is Jack Hughes better than Auston Matthews? Absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
No, he's not a better goal scorer, so that's out. He's also not a better two-way player. Jack is fantastic offensively. I think he's a better passer than Auston Matthews.
Yes.
But Jack doesn't have a two-way game at all. Mm-hmm. Zero, none, doesn't exist. And Jack hasn't had a 40-goal season, a 100-point season. So to put Jack in the same tier as McKinnon and Draisaitl. Obviously, McDavid's in a tier by himself. But Jack can't be in that tier. He's in like the Jason Robertson kind of tier, where it's just below where Matthews and McKinnon and Draisaitl and Cale Makar are, because you have to do it, one, in consecutive years, like over a span of time, and two, you've got to have a calling card, right? Matthews, when he's shooting the puck well, is a complete boogeyman.
To be fair, Jack did score. He did have 43 goals last year. So,
okay, so
so he has a 40, and he got 99 points. But still not 100.
And it's also 1 year.
Yes, exactly.
It's 1 year. So Jack comes back.
So you're saying Jack Hughes bust, is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying if he has another 40-goal season this year, then he's in that tier 100%. But to be in the offseason, to be saying like, oh, this player's better than Matthews, and this player's better than Matthews. Every single player I heard that about doesn't have the two-way game that Matthews has, and doesn't even remotely have the goal-scoring capability that he has.
It's more of like sort of like a hipster pick, kind of. Like, it's like, you know, Matthews is very well known as being a very good player, and so it's like, you know who I think? I think Jack Hughes is better than Matthews. Like, it's one of those things where you'd be like, oh, I'm not like other girls, I'm different, you know, I'm going to say this. But, like, it's, which is
he's
crazy.
in boogeyman mode, and I think that's something the Leafs are going to need. The other thing they're getting the benefit on right now is William Nylander has decided he's going to come out and show everybody he's worth the $10 million he's asked for. Because he is, I believe, 4 goals now in three goals in 2 games.
But both.
Yeah.
That first one, I mean, you know, we're not allowed to get too crazy on the podcast, but man, that one had me feeling some type of way. I'm getting a really weird look from our producer behind the camera. He's, Mike, don't go crazy with this one, so I won't. But man, like that Nylander goal, the first one.
Yeah.
Keith said, look, that's world class.
It was.
And he's now being recognized in that tier, like you were talking about. Like he is now being recognized with those elite wingers in the game, where he got 40 goals last year. That was a big sort of stepping stone for him. Honestly, if he keeps up this way, with who he's playing with the opportunities on the power play, because the Leafs, like, and I know the Leafs played. There were a couple power plays in their last game against Minnesota where they played PP1 for the entire 2 minutes.
I don't hate that, honestly. Load up that power play, especially when you have someone like Colorado, right? You don't have a ton of forward depth. Play McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar, Nichushkin. Like, just play them 2 minutes. Like, Ovechkin stays out 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You're not coming off. Sucks. Like,
exactly.
Too bad.
And to be fair, Ovechkin's game is very stationary. Like, he doesn't have to move very.
He skates from the top of the circle to the blue line, to the top of the circle to the blue line. That's it.
Exactly.
That's the extent of his power play motion.
But he, and all he does is just like sort of hover, and that's about it. And for a player like Ovechkin, stands still a lot. I've noticed, like, just from watching him. But anyway,
when you're the greatest goal scorer of all time,
you can do whatever you want. It works.
Who's saying anything?
It works. So whatever. Like, it's fine. But Nylander is like, he's on that level, and with who he's playing with the power play opportunity he has, like, there's no, like, he could get 50. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if he gets 50 in a contract year?
Oh boy. That goal he scored against Minnesota.
Yeah, the first one.
Oh my goodness. That was art.
It's one of those goals that, like, elicits, like, an audible moan when you watch it, you know?
You're like, oof.
You're like, oh!
Like, I was watching this game with a bunch of friends, and just like, oh goodness.
Yeah, I was watching it live. I was sitting next to my boss, Ryan Getty, and both of us went, oh, whoa! Like, it was one of those reactions. It was crazy. So now, Rachel, I have to tell you, like, let's say he keeps up this type of production.
Okay.
You comfortable paying $10 million if you're the Leafs?
I don't think you can have 4 $10 million players.
So do you lose William Nylander then?
I think the answer is actually trading somebody else.
And who would that be?
Or what you do is you do something with John Tavares, and I'm not sure how that plays.
That would break the room.
No. Like, you don't. You have to restructure. You can't restructure a deal.
Deals,
but like,
it's not the NFL.
You gotta do something where you can offset that. So you have to put Tavares in a role where he can be worth the 11 he's being paid. And in order to do that, I think he almost has to play with William Nylander. And so, do you get rid of Mitch Marner? Do you make other trades? Like, I don't know. I think maybe 9.5 is probably the sweet spot here with William Nylander. But if he puts up 50...
He's not going for less than that.
He's not going to go for less than $10 million, and then you're really top heavy again. Now you have to see, is the cap going to go up? What's it going to be? Because if you still don't want 5 years from now 4 players taking up 40% of your cap.
Yes.
Like, you don't want that. There's going to be other players. John Tavares' contract expires in 2 years. It's obviously not going to be another $10 million player. So the reality of the situation is you only have 4 players making this money for a year, two seasons.
Can you make that work?
Or no, 1 season. Their contracts expire next year.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, so you only have it for 1 year. So I think you can probably make that work. And I see John Tavares remaining with the Leafs, but in a significantly reduced sort of salary, like probably at 30% of the salary. I think you could make it work for 1 year. I think you could, because you've got Jake Muzzin, LTIR, you've got Matt Murray, LTIR, so you've got enough to sort of make something like that happen. It's tough.
You just have to sort of like get rid of any luxury pieces. Like even though he scored like Calle Yarncroke, for example, like what he brings for $2.1 million, I think he's making, you might have to,
You need that from Matthew Nyes and Fraser Minton.
Exactly.
And Nicholas Robertson.
Yeah.
That's what you need. Like, you need those players to come in and be good. You need Topi Niemela to come in and replace TJ Brody's money or whoever else's money, right? You can't be paying Timothy Liljegren $3, $4, $5 million. You need somebody to come in who's going to
at this stage,
push him.
Timothy Liljegren is not worth that. Let's be clear. Right now, he is not.
But you got a bottom pair that can't make more than the league minimum.
Yeah.
That's effectively...
And what's good is Rachel, is that, let's say they need to re-sign Ilya Samsonov. Well, they might have another elite Russian goaltending prospect in the fold.
Yeah, so I saw this morning.
You texted me hurriedly. You texted me anxiously. Being like, have you seen this? And I go, yes.
So much so that I misspelled scene.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was where we were at. So, Yaroslav Askarov is kind of the best Russian goalie prospect. He gets all the attention, and rightfully so. And then you've got Jesper Wallstedt, who's a Swedish goalie, and he's probably the best goalie prospect there is. Like,
he's Askarov, even.
Yes.
Or Askarov. Wow.
Yeah, yes.
But he doesn't do push-ups, or not push-ups, bench presses with his net after victories. So,
this is true. Askarov is definitely...
In my eyes, that's the tiebreaker. Like, that gets him...
Okay, fair.
Yes.
So, Artur Akhtiyama was a 4th-round pick. The Leafs signed him this past summer to an entry-level deal and then loaned him back to Russia. Now, I'm not sure, like, his agent... So, he's represented by Dan Milstein and Vlad Spector.
Of course
because obviously... Yeah. Which means he's obviously a Leaf, because that seems to be what...
Or a Canuck,
Or a Canuck, yeah. One of the two. But you look at his numbers, and I wanted to pull, and I don't... You know me. I hate comparisons. Like, I hate them. Because I think they're nonsense. But when you're running models, and I ran my model, and his 2 closest comparisons are Igor Shesterkin and Ilya Sorokin. And the reason is so Akhtiyama is in his 21-year-old season in the KHL with a team that isn't CSKA or SKA, which Sorokin and Shesterkin played for. So he's playing for AK Bars Kazan. So far, he's 6-3-0 with a .937 save percentage and a 2.1 goals against. Goals against is a team stat. In his 21-year-old season, Igor Shesterkin had a .937 and a just below 1.7 goals against average playing for SKA.
Which is like the class of the league.
The class of the league.
Yeah.
In his 21-year-old season, Ilya Sorokin had a .942. So we're talking about a goaltender who is being mentioned in the same breath as guys who are routinely in the conversation for the Vezina, right? Askarov played in the K and then he came over to play in the AHL, so he might be a little bit further ahead in his development. His choice to come over, we're not really sure what the Akhtiyama contract situation is, other than
we have no idea.
Toronto signed him and then loaned him back. So they do have his rights under the IIHF rules. But that's something to look for. If you look at it, Russian goalies, Shesterkin drafted not in the 1st round. Sorokin drafted, I believe, in the 4th round.
Yes.
So it's really Vasilevsky and Askarov who were earmarked from the get-go.
Yeah. You heard about them for a while leading into their draft.
Exactly. And from what I understand, Shesterkin and Sorokin have all come from the same goalie school. Sergei Ivanov is in that, but he's smaller, like he's 5'10". Whereas Akhtyamov has also come from this goalie school. He's 6'2".
Yes.
Right? So I think that there's a chance. There's absolutely no guarantee he's going to turn out to be Shesterkin or Sorokin. In fact, there's no guarantee he plays in the NHL at all. But the fact that he's putting up these numbers...
As young as he is, with the cast in front of him.
Yeah, like the best player on his team is Vadim Shipashev.
Yeah, Vegas Golden Knights legend.
Not Pavel Datsyuk.
Yeah. Or, Ilya Kovalchuk, or...
Yeah. Any number of...
Radulov, or any of those guys, right?
Radulov actually plays for Kazan this year.
Oh!
Yeah, he moved.
Funnily enough, interesting. Okay.
But he's not playing on a juggernaut team, if you will. Yeah. He's playing on, instead of playing on, the Hurricanes of the KHL, he's playing on,
The Blue Jackets?
No, not the Blue Jackets.
Okay.
He's playing on, the Wild.
So a remarkably mid team.
It's a very mid, upper mid. They're gonna challenge, they're a good team.
They'll make the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's just not getting enough love.
No one's
probably
talking about
because he's overplaying in Kazan, which, you and I are not going to be going over to watch. David Alter, who covers the Leafs for the Hockey News, also probably not going to be doing that.
David Alter can speak Russian, though. Did you know that?
He what?
He can speak Russian, yeah. So any Russian Leafs around there, he knows what you're saying.
How does David Alter know how to speak Russian?
It beats me, man, but he does.
Incredible. That is going to be...
It's his, ace in the hole, kind of. He's able to... Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, so he was definitely able to communicate with Mikheyev at the beginning, with Ozhaganov, with...
Dude, Kulemin, Grabowski, way back in the day, stuff like that, yeah. He actually... I remember him telling a story about how, he... I think it was Kulemin and Grabowski were talking to each other in Russian about, we don't want to do media today, and Alter was just oh, I know. In Russian, and they're like, oh, okay, he knows. Our secret language has been cracked.
Our secret language is actually not a secret anymore.
Exactly.
That's why you need to learn how to speak, the slang.
I want to speak Swedish, man. I got to start learning how to speak Swedish because, everyone... Well, maybe not as much anymore now that, Engvall and Sandy, but there was a time where, there was, 8 Swedes on the Leafs. With Shalgren in there too, and I was just man, I gotta learn Swedish so I can communicate with these guys.
They're mostly English now. I feel like
they're mostly Canadian, in the Toronto area, and we speak that language.
We do speak that language. Yes.
We call people waste utes and mans and whatnot.
What is a ute?
You don't know? Oh boy.
What is a ute?
On TikTok, there's it's like a Toronto slang. Have you not seen Toronto slang?
No. I know the 6 and the...
Oh boy. Oh, Connor.
What?
Connor, she doesn't know. She doesn't know anything. You know the 6? That's from way back. I'm going to show you a TikTok video after we record that's going to blow your mind.
Oh no.
You are going to have a...
I've heard people say waste, but I never understand what that is. See, I'm still clearly back in the olden times where we're using lettuce to refer to hair.
The olden times, huh?
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah.
Okay, can we talk about how the NHL threw the San Jose Sharks into a volcano to start the year?
We absolutely can.
Okay, I'm gonna read you San Jose's schedule to start the year. Keep in mind, San Jose is not supposed to be good.
They're supposed to be very bad. A lot of people, I believe us, even in our season previews, have them finishing last in the league.
I believe...
Or at least challenging for
it. We did. So, to start, they play Vegas, then the Avalanche, then the Canes, then the Bruins, then the Predators, then the Panthers, then the Lightning, then the Canes again. So...
Have they won yet?
No. But Mackenzie Blackwood, got traded to San Jose... And it took, I believe, till the 51st Colorado shot in the last minute of the game for them to tie the game.
Yeah.
They were getting outshot 52 to I want to say it was 18. And Nathan McKinnon finished the game with 14 shots. 14!
Their shot attempts were, at one point it was 118 to 49. When that
oh my god, that's 84%.
Now it's not just the Sharks that are getting thrown to the Wolves, and I love how this app closed right when I had it pulled up. But the Blackhawks also are getting kind of manhandled
volcanoed
by the schedule because so they started
Pittsburgh.
They started with Pittsburgh, so whatever, and the Bruins were fine, and then the
Montreal.
Now tonight they have the Leafs, Then next they have the Avalanche, the Golden Knights, the Bruins, the Golden Knights, the Coyotes, the Panthers, the Devils, the Lightning, the Panthers, the Lightning, the Predators, the Sabres, and then the Blue Jackets offer a little bit of a break, and then it's the Leafs, the Blues, but then the Kraken, the Red Wings, the Jets, the Wild, the Predators, and then finally they have a bit of a breather with a stretch of like the Ducks, the Blues, the Caps, and they go right back on it with the Oilers.
Oh my!
Like that is brutal. They for that little stretch up until like American Thanksgiving, they play the.
They're gonna be in the Marianas Trench by American Thanksgiving.
That stretch of up until American Thanksgiving, they play the Golden Knights twice,
the Leafs twice,
the Lightning twice, the Panthers twice,
the Avs,
the Devils once, the Avs once, and the Bruins once, and their only sort of like leeway in that regard is the Coyotes, but it's on the road at Mullet Arena, and the Coyotes play very, very well at Mullet Arena. So it's it's like these teams, the league is throwing their
the bad teams, they just said, and Volcano.
They're like, all right, we want you guys to get even more first round picks next year. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, they're gonna, and it's not a balanced schedule because of the different games you play, but they'll play every team in the West and the East, or the West. They'll play every team in the East twice, home and home, and then they'll play, depending on division matchups, they'll play the West more often. But to start, first of all, on an Eastern road trip, like if you look at what that did to the Canucks last year, it literally tanked their entire year.
Yes.
It tanked their entire year. And it's not like the Blackhawks had the expectations that the Canucks did going into last season, but oh my goodness. I mean, we talked about it last episode. Kudos to the NHL for getting Bedard in the big markets right off the hop.
I do have something to complain about though, Rachel.
Oh no.
Because of that. So, and I don't want to sound like a boomer
curmudgeon
journalist or whatever, but you talk about how the Blackhawks, they're PR loading Bedard. They had him mic'd up for his first thing. He's on the Pat McAfee show, like all that kind of stuff. We're in Toronto.
It is literally the hockey mecca, like CBC sending cameras, CTV,
yes.
CP24. Like this guy is gonna be all over Canadian media.
Exactly.
He is a star Canadian.
Now we're recording this on Monday afternoon. So later tonight, the Toronto Maple Leafs will take on Connor Bedard for the first time.
In his career.
He didn't even play preseason games.
Only time he's in town this season.
Exactly. You want to know who wasn't made available this morning for the media? Connor Bedard, along with all of the other Blackhawks. I was tipped off before in the morning that this wasn't going to happen because I didn't even bother going to morning skate this morning because of that.
I don't think that should be allowed, frankly.
It shouldn't.
If you're skating, you should have to talk if you're asked. If you're not skating, you're not going to pull a player from the hotel because the media wants to talk to him. But Connor Bedard's skating. Therefore, he should be available.
And also, if you are Connor Bedard and it is your first game in Toronto, like you should be talking to the media.
McDavid did.
Because here's the thing.
And I don't think it's Connor Bedard that's doing it.
It is. It's all his fault. No,
but it's incumbent upon, like when you have a star like this, they have to be treated differently.
Yeah.
Auston Matthews.
At least in a media sense.
Exactly, yeah. Because you have to make him available. If I'm CBC or I'm CTV, I'm going right to the NHL and going, what the heck is this?
Oh, yeah.
You want this coverage. You want all of this. You want him on ESPN. You want him in the premier games. You don't even force your PR people to make him available?
For 5 minutes. It's a
not
5
even.
minute,
It's 2.
It's like maximum. It's like a 3. Maximum. It's a 5-minute interview where he's surrounded by, and he will be asked normal questions. He'll be like, what's it like playing in this building for the first time? But it's visibility. He's there, and it allows me to be able to write a story on it and then get his name out even more. It's good PR for the Blackhawks, which they need desperately.
You bet.
Good PR for the league. It keeps their name in circulation. Instead, it's crickets. The only thing I saw was Kevin McGran from Toronto Star, a great guy, complaining about it and on Twitter, and his thing was saying it's like he's like, do they not want this league to be covered? And to be fair, this has happened with the Habs earlier this year as well. You know, we're there on opening night. It's opening night.
Which is, again, totally unacceptable. And
there were a lot of the French media who were there as well. You know, and they were going, Sacré Bleu, why did we even come to the rink this morning? This is a new thing this year.
Right, and it shouldn't be allowed. Like, that shouldn't be a thing,
We got a job to do, man. And like,
you want the league to grow. You want the league to get coverage. The other thing is like,
I'm saying this purely selfishly. You're talking about the league growing. I'm saying it
talking
makes my job harder.
from this
I don't like this.
I'm talking about it from this perspective. We're talking about the Chicago Blackhawks and the Montreal Canadiens. Two of probably the worst
Two original
teams.
16s, though.
Two original 16s. Two of the worst teams in the league. No offense to anybody on Chicago or Montreal.
Full offense.
But I do not want to hear from anybody but Taylor Hall, Seth Jones, and Connor Bedard. Or Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and Tyler Toffoli. I don't care to hear from anybody else. So make those three available and call it a day. And you know what? If you think it's too much, get better players that we're interested in talking to.
And to be fair, the Blackhawks practiced yesterday, I believe, in Toronto. So they did make Taylor Hall available yesterday. I'm not sure about Bedard. I didn't see any clips from it. But like the thing is, not everyone can go to practices. Like not everyone can go all the way out to Etobicoke to the practice facility on a Sunday when they have other stuff to do. Like, for example, like I'm an NHL writer. I go league-wide. It just happens to be I'm in Toronto, so where the Leafs are like it's like the hub of where I get all the players coming in, so I can interview them and write stories and do my job and
You're
earn
not
money
the only one.
and not be homeless.
Here.
Yes.
Chris Johnston is here. Darren Dreger is here.
Exactly. You know, Elliot Friedman's here.
Elliot Friedman, Jeff Merrick, like all of the big, whether you like it or not, Kevin Weeks has a place here. So every single insider,
they're not going to go to a practice on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, first of all, football's on, NFL, and that trumps any NHL-related stories, unless like somebody falls out of a plane or something. Like, if you want the league to grow, which why are we even having this discussion considering we had to have the Pride Tape discussion last week?
Yes.
Like, this is... Where's the dog?
Oh, yeah.
This is not fine. You can't do this. You have this guy mic'd up, you have him on the Pat McAfee show getting all this attention, and then less than a week later, he's not being made available to the media? You gotta be kidding.
It's ridiculous.
Joke. Connor McDavid talks every day. Jack Hughes talks every day. Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner talk every single day.
To be fair, and this was a ridiculous thing, is that Lou Lamoriello, for their first year, for Matthews and Marner's first year, he didn't let them be interviewed on camera.
That's a Lou thing.
That's a Lou thing, but it's also ridiculous.
But if you're gonna let Connor Bedard go on the Pat McAfee show and be mic'd up for ESPN, you can't say it applies here and it doesn't apply here. At least with Lou, he's consistent. No, across the board, right? You can't say yes here and no here, and especially when you're in the two biggest hockey markets in Montreal and Toronto for a Canadian, and it's a Canadian superstar. It is totally unacceptable, and the NHL should tell Chicago, this is not okay. It does not.
And tell the Habs too. It's
a joke. Now, in fairness, Montreal's media has no issues taking Montreal, the organization, to task. So I feel like that'll take care of itself. Like, whoever, I think it's Chantal is her name, runs Montreal PR, like, that's going to get rectified, because that's just not going to work. So I think when you have, it's just a different sort of vibe. But, like, imagine Connor Bedard goes, like, at the World Juniors, he was available every single day.
I interviewed him every day.
Every single day.
I saw more of Connor Bedard than I saw of, like, my family through the Christmas holidays, because I was in Halifax interviewing Connor Bedard every day.
Right, and so it's like, it's not
hard. Why am I able to talk to this phenom here? Like why am I able to get better access to him here than I am, when he's the star of an Original Six major market? Like, it blows my mind. He's representing his country here in, like, the biggest sort of hockey event on the calendar, and I'm able to talk to him and do whatever. And then when he comes here, it's like, oh no, we gotta hide him behind closed doors.
Yeah, and you know what, he's going to have to do, like, a warm-up interview or a pregame interview, and I saw...
Well, he'll do a bench interview where they'll be like, how's it feel? Like, oh, it's good, and that's it.
It's ridiculous. Like, he's going to have to do media tonight, because once again, there is nobody on the Blackhawks worth talking to.
But then, if he does media tonight, and if they get friggin' blown out, then we already know that he like, gives himself 10 lashings after every loss. Like, it's not like he's going to be super chatty. Like, it's... The reason why players talk at morning skate is because they're fresh, they're more amenable to it. They didn't just come off either a victory or a loss. They're not exhausted.
Yeah, they're just chilling.
They're just chilling in the morning, and they're able to preview a game, and they're more like, after. For example, I'll give you an example. I was going to, and the Wild didn't make very many people available on Saturday, so it kind of screwed my thing. But I was going to write a column about, the legend of Ryan Reaves. And I was going to talk to a bunch of guys on the Wild about, give me some Ryan Reaves stories, just to see his quirks, because he's a big, and this will move into our next segment, which is great. But this will, it gives some sort of unique insight, because he's a polarizing guy, like him or hate him, whether he's good or bad, if you think. He's a very interesting person to talk to and hear about. People have stories about.
Absolutely.
And
he's the perfect personality for Toronto, by the way. Like,
exactly.
Chicago should have somebody like Ryan Reaves to distract.
Nick Foligno. And so I'm like, oh, well, I guess I could talk to him after the game. The only thing is, Ryan Reaves freaking clocked a dude, then got into a fight with
Marcus Foligno.
Then got into a fight with Marcus Foligno after the game. So I feel like if I go into the Wild's dressing room after they got ripped by their coach as well, and I ask, hey, can you tell me a funny story about Ryan Reaves? They go like, hey, here's a trash can. You can either hop in there yourself or we'll stuff you in. and they would be completely in the right to treat me that way. So
just make your players available. It is not hard.
It is so easy.
They make millions of dollars a year, and you know what? If you want them to make more, the easiest way to do that is to market them so that the league becomes more valuable, and then they can make more money. This is not rocket science. You do not need a PhD in quantum physics to figure this out.
Now, this is not Ryan Rishaug going after Al Montoya for not talking to him on the morning of the night he started.
No, this is me going, why are you holding the league back?
Yeah. And I used to make fun of people who had these concerns because I go, it's no big deal, you're a reporter. But then I became one, and I realized, oh, maybe they have a point. So this has been Mike's Boomer Corner, where I, a 27-year-old young boy, complain about things that I used to make fun of 50-year-olds for complaining about.
See, I'm not even complaining about that because I'm not a reporter. I am purely saying you want the salary cap to grow up, you want to grow the game. Market your superstars. Mm-hmm. This is especially in this city.
Absolutely.
Whether you like it or not, Connor Bedard is getting more attention when he comes to Toronto than when he goes to St. Louis. That is just, those are the rules because that's how things work. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Ryan Reaves.
Speaking of superstars, Ryan Reaves.
Man, he is, the Uncles Union of Ontario is like the president of his fan club.
Let me just say, he has been, and I know, and we will get into the Twitter war that was waged over him on Sunday, which, by the way, if you spent, and I tweeted this, but I'm going to look right down the camera here. If you spent Sunday, a nice Sunday with NFL football and everything, complaining about Ryan Reaves on Twitter after your superstar just scored back-to-back hat tricks, you have 13 combined goals in your first 2 games, and everyone else is playing well, you need psychiatric help. You need to check yourself into an institution because you either need to get hobbies because you don't have enough going on in your life. Yes, Ryan Reaves' expected goals weren't super great. And again, I fall more and more into the boomer trap every
He also has like a 75 PDO, so just chill.
But the Leafs legitimately played better after that fight.
They actually did. Like,
there was a tangible, a quantifiable uptick in their production.
Their
after
expected
that fight.
goals went like that.
Their actual goals went like that.
Yeah.
They scored 7 goals after that happened. It was it was the exact same with this fight with Arbor Jacki. Listen.
He gets it. Like, he actually gets it.
There is a role that he plays, and he plays it to perfection. His role is not to, you could even argue his role is not to be a good hockey player.
No.
Because he's not.
I mean, is he good compared to, everyone on this earth? Yes. He's in the top 0.1%.
Absolutely. Is he good to, the other players he's facing on that night?
No.
But...
He gets outshot, he gets outchanced.
Yes.
But clearly, players in the room value him, because Auston Matthews gets a hat trick, William Nylander gets a few goals.
With one that
was disgusting.
Yes, is going to be responsible for the next baby boom in Toronto.
And the Toronto locker room said, no, Ryan Reaves is getting the belt because of what he brings to the team. And so, yeah, you might not like it, but I'd rather have that than a Wayne Simmons, unfortunately, who couldn't even do the role that Ryan Reaves was doing.
In his later years, at least.
Exactly.
Yeah. Before, Wayne Simmons was Ryan Reaves, but with 30-goal output.
Prime Wayne Simmons was New Age Wendell Clark.
Yeah,
Like,
he was
incredible.
remarkable.
We need to talk about something that's happening in Buffalo, though, to finish up the show.
Let's do it.
Zach Benson inexplicably slipped out of the top 10.
Zach Benson, in ways that you will describe now, is literally the anti-Ryan Reaves in that he is small.
He's a small.
He's small. He doesn't fight, and his expected goals are incredible.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you a stat.
Why don't you give me some numbers?
I'm gonna give you a graph.
Okay. Oh, all right.
When Zach Benson is on the ice, the Buffalo Sabres' expected goals percentage 68%.
Is it 68 point something?
I don't have that off the top of
so
my head. I just remembered
if we could round up,
it would be nice.
It would be great.
It'd be nice if we could round up. The Buffalo Sabres as a team's expected goals for percentage when Zach Benson is not on the ice.
What is it?
29.
Does that mean they're just not good? Like, because Zach Benson...
Also, Victor Olofsson is playing more than Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck for some weird reason. I have no idea. But Zach Benson gets drafted, and it is exceedingly rare that anyone who's drafted...
Is this at all strengths or 5-on-5?
At 5-on-5.
Okay.
So, when a player is drafted, usually first and second overall, they make the team right out of camp. It is extraordinarily rare that a non-top 10 pick will make the club in his first training camp. Zach Benson, Don Bernardo said, he effectively forced their hand.
Yeah.
Which goes to say, there were so many people, myself, elite prospects, Chase McCallum, Byron Bader, were screaming at the draft, this kid needs to go in the top 5. He has to go in the top 5. He's got to go in the top 5. He falls, I think, to like 13. Vancouver boy, the Canucks pass on him. Arizona passes on him. Like, Montreal passes on him.
Philly passed on him. I mean,
they took Michkov, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Detroit passed on him. And this kid is already making a huge impact for an upstart kind of team that's fighting for the playoffs, and he looks fantastic.
Sure does.
So it's like, okay, what are we doing here? It's not like he got that much better over the summer that, like, this is new information. It's Buffalo saw his data, saw his scoring. Like, if you look at Zach Benson, I believe he finished 5th in WHL scoring last year, behind, obviously, Connor Bedard. But he finished ahead of guys who were drafted last season. And then finished ahead of guys who were drafted ahead of him. And I'm like, okay, so you didn't take him because he's small?
I think that basically comes down, unless he's like a crazy person off the ice and
if
we don't know.
they send him back to junior...
They won't. He got 2 assists.
He is going to actually tear apart the WHL. Like, he is going to rip that thing limb from limb. In
their last game, Zach Benson played 15 minutes.
Yeah, like, he's not
and
going
he had
back.
2 assists. He's on the team.
It's incredible, and I mean, it's a kudo to him, but also kudos to the Sabres, because they consistently, if you look at their draft picks, Yuri Kulik, Matthew Savoy, the first round picks, like, don't really count. Zach Benson slid to them. Kevin Adams couldn't get to the stage fast enough to draft Zach Benson. Like, usually they tell teams, take your 3 minutes to put your pick in. Buffalo was like, no!
No, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
They had his name on the back and everything. Like, they were like, this is not a discussion. Like, they couldn't believe he got there, and Kevin Adams said that. They were like, we couldn't believe he was there. And I know a few teams had him in the top 5. Evidently, none of them were the teams that need talent, right? And then you just look at it, and he's already having an impact for the Sabres, clearly, because they're a garbage pile with him off the ice now. I think that's going to change. But they're fantastic with him on the ice. And I think once Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck start playing more, then you've got Zach Benson, you got Dylan Cousins, you can kind of...
Dylan Cousins has done nothing so far.
Exactly. Like, they all need to sort of find where they're going here. Great for how to
draft him in fantasy. I love that.
But this guy came roaring out of the gate. Like, roaring out of the gate. Guy said, I'm here, I'm the little train that could, whatever that book is. And he's...
It's the little engine that could.
Okay, whatever.
I think I can. That's great.
Can you tell I didn't read? Like,
I was a big train kid. I was
a huge train kid, but all in German.
No, like I was like Thomas the Tank Engine. Like I had the little setup in the basement where I would be like choo choo.
Okay, who's your favorite Thomas the Tank Engine character? Percy?
Gotta go Percy or
I picked that right up.
Or James. I liked James too. Although there was a garbage or a gravel cart called Rusty.
Rusty,
and they literally pulled him apart, like, because he was the villain, and so to get back at him, they like attached cables at both ends, and he was like, I'm coming, and that was traumatic. Anyway,
I loved Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh, it was great. The movie scared me.
Oh, the one
starring Alec Baldwin.
Yes, yeah. I remember that movie. I watched that movie like 1,000 times.
They had a big train with like a claw on it.
Yeah,
that scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Oh yeah, that was not.
I thought the claw was gonna get.
And then there was Henry. He was always sad.
Gordon
was always grumpy.
And what I love too is they're like the only human character was the person who runs the train yard. You want to know what that guy's name was?
Sir Topham Hatt.
No, it was they changed it to Sir Topham Hatt after a while, because you know what his original name was for most of the time it was the Fat Controller. That was his character name.
Okay, that would not fly.
Yeah. So they changed it to Sir Topham Hatt. Because he was wearing a top hat, but he was the Fat Controller. So Thomas the Tank, until the liberal media took down Thomas the Tank Engine.
In 1993.
Yeah. It reminds me of in Star Wars, in the last scene, they were gonna go bomb the Death Star, and there was one guy, he's like Porkins, calling in, and it was supposed to be like a pig sort of alien, but they couldn't afford the prosthetics at the end, so they just got a fat guy. and it was Porkins.
And on that
note, that's the end of the show. We'll be back on Thursday with mics and everything, and it'll be lovely. But Rachel, do you want to leave our listeners and our viewers with anything before we leave?
Hit us up on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We'll have like shorts, Mike's Meals for One. Now that we have lighting and stuff, is going to get filmed in our studio. We're going to do Chell 24 content because I have not ever played NHL. So this is going to be fun. But yeah, subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on TikTok. There's a lot of great stuff there, and we will see you later this week.